Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Each of us has an ego-centric self. And many of us spend our lifetime in worship of that egocentric self, trying to elevate that egocentric self, believing that that is who we are, and we should do everything that we can to make that self more important, to make that self more grandiose, to make that self more powerful. And we build this giant inside of ourselves. And at the end of days, for each of us, because that end of days comes for each of us, this giant that we have created, that we call ourselves, will become the true enemy to our real self, will become that which needed to be overcome in order to enter reality. And we need to be aware of that. We need to know that the bigger we make ourselves, the bigger we become, the more important we become, at least in our own perception of things, the more veils are created between ourselves and reality. The more veils are created between ourselves and the truth. The more veils are created between ourselves and Allah, between ourselves and truth, between ourselves and Haqq, between ourselves and Hakikat, the understanding of the truth. In order to find the truth, in order to be able to be free of this giant who will become our worst enemy, we in our lives have to practice becoming small. And in the Western world, and really all through the world, becoming small is not the way of man. Man is constantly trying to become bigger. And because of this, not many people find the truth. Not many people venture towards the truth. Because to venture towards the truth, you have to give up the trappings of becoming big. You have to give up the intention of becoming big. You have to give up the rewards of becoming big. Now, these are false rewards and these are false treasures, but in the limited, narrow sense of the way man sees things, he sees the things of the world as large and as important and as necessary and as something that he wants and he needs. Because of this, we find ourselves drowning in the ocean of illusion, but we don't see it as drowning. We see it as winning this world over and winning our way in the world. It's said that Jesus walked on water. The symbolism of that is that the water is this ocean of illusion. where most men live. But Jesus didn't live in the ocean of illusion. He transcended the ocean of illusion. And therefore, when he came to find men in the ocean of illusion, he walked over that ocean. And Jesus was a fisherman. And what was he fishing for? He was fishing for men trapped in this ocean of illusion. And he pulled them out of this ocean of illusion. We need to find the secret to pulling ourselves out of this ocean of illusion. We need to find the secret of leaving this illusory world and leaving our attachment to it. In the late 40s, I think, 1940s, there was maybe early 50s, there was a singer whose name was Nat King Cole. And he recorded a song called Nature Boy. And if you've never heard it, you should find it and listen to it. But the hook phrase, the catchphrase in the song is, the greatest thing you will ever learn is to love and be loved in return. And it's interesting because within that one line, or maybe two lines, is really one of the great secrets in transcendence. One of the great secrets in leaving that giant that you've created inside yourself. We need to transfer this self-love that we have, this separation that we create between ourselves and everybody else because of our specialness. We need to be able to leave that and enter into a relationship with everybody else in the world, with the rest of humanity. And it has to be a loving relationship. You know, in China and in Japan and in Tibet and in parts of India and Sri Lanka and many of the countries in that part of the world, Buddhism is the prevalent religion. And they make statues of the Buddha. But if you've ever traveled there, or at least seen pictures of the statues of Buddha in China or in India or in Thailand or in Japan, you'll notice that Buddha in Japan looks Japanese. In China, he looks Chinese. In India, he looks Indian. In Thailand, he looks Thai. Now, it's the same religion and it's the same Buddha, but everybody fashions their religion after their own ideas, after their own conceptions, after their own way of perceiving things. Now, we all do this. We all have this natural inclination to perceive everything the way we see it, and to think that our perception of things is reality. One of the most difficult things for man to do is to give up his perception, to give up his ideas. In most of the world, religion has become cultural, and the local culture has been intermingled with the religion, and that's what the religion has become. in areas of the world where men are dominant and where tribal society is dominant and where power is dominant, women become secondary. And the religion becomes imbued with a misogyny towards women and with power in man's hands. The Buddha has said that his Dharma, his path, will never be complete until women share equality with men. In the West, that's beginning to be understood and it's beginning to be implemented. In the East, the mother is considered incredibly important in the life of man and is to be given homage. But all other women are forced to wear coverings, forced to wear burqas, and are pushed aside and made less than important, often much less than important. We, individually, almost always take advantage of every situation which makes us more important. We have to learn to give up this kind of attitude and this kind of way. We have to learn to integrate with all of society, every nook of society, every level of society, and stop seeing differences among people. We have to learn to love. And anytime change occurs or an attempt to change occurs within us, we have to have the patience to allow that change to occur. You see, if we don't understand that things take processing, things take time, then we won't be able to go through the process that it takes. When a seed is planted, before you see the results of the germination of that seed, there's an entire underground phenomenon that occurs. And then after that is settled, that root system is settled, then sprouting occurs and something begins to occur above ground. But if you're expecting to plant seeds and see the results the next day, not only don't you know anything about farming, you don't understand patience. So to understand patience, we have to apply the understanding of the seed germination to ourselves. Anytime a new idea comes within us, anytime we begin to understand a new pattern or a new way of doing things, we need to go through the germination of the growth of that. And we have to have the patience to watch it grow, the patience to watch it germinate. We have to plant the seed of love within each of us. And we have to watch this seed of love grow. Now, we were created by Allah, and we were created out of love. So love is naturally a part of us. But because of our upbringing, because of our culture, because of the way of the world and the egocentric nature of the world, we've lost that natural inclination for love. God hasn't lost that. God never lost that. God always had that, and God created us out of that. We need to return to that. There was a little girl in a small town, and everyone in this town liked her and appreciated her, and you could say loved her. And a group of people were sitting around wondering, what was it about this little girl that everybody liked so much? And one of them said, well, you know, her father fought for this country and died, and he's considered a hero, and she's an orphan, so people go out of their way to be kind to her and love her on behalf of her father. And the next man said, oh, that's true, but you know, she's also very pretty, and people like her because she's cute, and she's just very easy to be around. The next one said, that's true, she's pleasant, she's constantly smiling. And the next one said, well, she has something God-given about her that's really very difficult to understand. Finally, an older man says, what she has is she loves everybody. She loves the young, she loves the old, she doesn't differentiate. She just loves everybody. And because she loves, it's easy to love her back. Somehow, this little girl never gave up the ability to love. And because of that, the reaction from everybody else in this little village towards her was love. One of the major capacities that the Sheikh has with the disciples, with his following, is his capacity to love all of them, and the capacity to make the people who came before him feel and understand that love. And what happens is that love makes all kinds of things blossom within you. I had a teacher in the 4th or 5th grade who every day used to call me up to the front of the class to her so I could have a conversation with her. And every day she would tell me how smart I was and how I could do anything I set my mind to, and went on like this with me for at least 5 or 10 minutes. And she would do this consistently. By the way, I think she did this with everybody else also. This trait that she had instilled a kind of confidence in each of her students that let them to succeed in a way they probably never could have gotten to without her buttressing their confidence and without her explaining to them how great they were. Well, the Sheikh does that for his disciples. Bawa, when he spoke to us, always addressed us as my children, lights of my eyes, as if we were the most important thing in existence to him. Now, that importance has to be understood in the way that it is meant to be understood. We are Allah's creation, and each of us has Allah within us. A breath was blown into each of us from the divine, and that divinity exists within each of us. And if we love, and if we can engender love within our being towards others, we'll recognize that divinity in others. And that divinity in others will have a profound effect on us, because that's the effect that the divine has. It has a profound effect upon you. And to be in proximity to divinity has a profound effect within you. But if you create a veil between yourself and others, you create a veil between the divinity in others and yourself. So the profound effect that their divinity could have on you becomes impossible, because you don't allow it to occur. You don't allow that divinity to be seen by you, because you're so busy looking at the egocentric self that's so busy creating this giant inside of yourself, who's eventually going to become your arch enemy when it's time to face the truth. So we need to be able to enter into a state of kindness and love and generosity. We need to be able to enter into a state where we understand the needs of others, and we attempt to implement God's will in this world. And God's will is to love. God's will is to give. God's will is to elevate those around in his creation to understand and know the truth. The work of a teacher is to elevate the ones around him to a place where they understand truth, where they understand kindness. In one of the Buddhist doctrines, they ask that the rest of humanity reach transcendence before they do. In other words, their work is the work of the ones who are teaching is on behalf of others. They're not worried about their own transcendence. They're worried about the transcendence of others. And this is the true work of a wise teacher, to bring transcendence to the ones around him, to bring elevation to the ones around him, to give to the ones around him what it is that he has, not to hold back, not to hold back what he has for himself, but to give, and to give beyond measure, to give as much of himself as he can possibly give. I watched our teacher give his entire life on behalf of others, and never held back for himself. I saw him when he was healthy and the way that he worked, and I saw him in his declining years when his body was giving him terrible pains and problems, but his attitude never changed, his intention never changed, and the way he worked on behalf of others never changed. He was always giving, and he was giving gladly. Now, we need to be able to enter into that space. We need to be able to enter into that space where we can give on behalf of others, and the success of others becomes our joy. The ability of others to understand truth becomes our joy. The ability of others to be able to learn how to do what the teacher can do becomes our joy. We have to be able to be joyous in the joy of others. This is not necessarily the way of the world. In some languages, they even have words that describe the opposite of having joy in the joy of others. In German, there's a word Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude means to be happy in the difficulty of others. Quite the opposite of what we are taught. Now, the point is that all of these things exist in the spectrum of humanity. All of these things exist within the illusory world. Some are lies and some are truths. And we have to be able to differentiate between the lies and the truths. And very often, what we think is beneficial to us when we are still clouded by the illusory world, what we think is beneficial to us is detrimental to us. This life that we lead is not an eternal existence. This life within this world has a time limit and a duration. And that which we think helps us in this time span does not necessarily help us in the eternal span that we enter into. It's very difficult for people to be able to look at their life and see it as part of a much larger experience. In the same way that it's very difficult for a caterpillar to understand that it becomes a butterfly. You don't see the butterfly until you're a butterfly. You don't understand the butterfly until you're a butterfly. And this is where faith comes in. Imagine that the caterpillar is told one day it's going to be a butterfly. How many caterpillars believe it? But it's part of a natural progression. And we can't see the next step in the progression until we enter into the next step. One cannot tell what love does for one's heart until one begins to love. One cannot understand the joy in feeling the joy in others until one begins to love. One can't experience the joy in watching the transcendence of others until one experiences it. So we are given examples of what man should and could be. And we have to watch these examples, and we have to understand that this is where we can be heading. This is what we can become. This is where we should be going. But unless we have faith, we will begin to doubt whether or not we can go there. And doubt is something that we have to be rid of. Or as Bawa would say quite simply, doubt is out. Because doubt will cripple us. Doubt will destroy our faith. Doubt will destroy our belief. And doubt is very, very easy to come by. There are doubters everywhere. There are whole philosophies written about doubt. And if you want to find people who doubt and find all kinds of reasons for doubt, type in atheist in the search bar on your computer, and you'll get all the reasons in existence to doubt. But then, if you're fortunate enough, you'll find somebody who doesn't doubt. And their belief is so powerful that it extends beyond their own being and resonates so that you can feel it and sense it and bring it into your being. And their love is so strong that when you're in their presence, it comforts you. And it comforts you so that your fear dissipates, and your difficulty dissipates, and your trepidation dissipates, and all of the horrors of your imagination become stilled, and they leave you, and you become overwhelmed by understanding what love can do for you. Patience is what's going to allow you to take this ride. And that is the importance of patience. To go from one step to the next requires patience. To go from one state to the next requires patience. To enter into the places that are unknown, unafraid, requires patience and faith. We need to develop patience and faith within our being. We need to hold before us the images of that which has been manifest into this world to show us the truth. Allah manifested prophets to give us his word. Allah manifested teachers in this world to give us his word. Allah manifested friends of his into this world to give us his word. He manifested sheikhs. He manifested yogis. He manifested all sorts of helpers in this world to give us the courage to move in that direction and to give us examples of what we could become. To watch a wise teacher, to watch his serenity, to watch his poise, to watch his posture, to watch his activities with others, to watch the way he interacts, and to watch how he never changed his demeanor, that he was always at peace, that he was always content, he was always in the state of praise of his Lord, is what gives us the courage to travel that path and to become that way. The fact that they existed in this world is proof to us that we can be that. And that's the point. We can be that. And what is that? That is Muhammad. That is Bawa. That is the transcended ones. We can be that. More importantly, or just as important, we are meant to be that. We are created to become transcendent, This is the purpose of our creation. We were created to commune with our Creator. This is the purpose of our creation. So we shouldn't be afraid to enter into that which is our birthright. We should be able to accept what is our birthright, and we should move forward in that birthright. We should relieve ourselves of this giant that we've created who functions in this illusory world, and we should know that the ability to function in this illusory world, in this world of illusion, is not going to carry us to eternity. It's going to bring us to a death within this world. To go beyond the death in this world, we have to transcend the egocentric self and understand the unity in existence, the unity within mankind, and the sameness that exists within all of us. And we need to share in the joy of each other, the joy of the differences, the joy of the unique ways of looking at things, as long as they are within the realm of the truth. So we need to begin the journey towards reality. This journey towards reality is what's going to bring us to the culmination of our existence. This journey towards reality is what's going to make us who we really are. We need to begin to know our soul. We need to begin to know what's inside of our heart. We need to bypass the mind and enter into the heart. We need to bypass the illusory world and enter into the truth. This is our purpose, and this is the reason we were created. We should accept this as the most important thing that we can do. Everything else is secondary. And when we come to that realization, our faith will go stronger, our determination will go stronger, and we will be able to move forward. And Allah will show us signs of our progress. Allah will give us moments of supreme clarity when we know we finally have entered into the right path. May each of us begin to understand the importance of this existence for us. We are the highest of Allah's creation, and we have to live up to the intention of that creation, to the intention that Allah set forth in each of us. And we have to believe that we can do it. We can't say this is not for me, this is for somebody else. We can't say that Allah wanted him to be transcendent, but not me. This is for you. And each of us has to accept that this is for each of us, and that each of us will be brought to our Creator in this transcendent fashion as we clear ourselves of everything from this illusory world. And we have to ask God to help us do this. Help us become pure. Help us to become rid of our attachments to illusion. Help us understand the true nature of our Lord, the true nature of man, and the true nature of the mystery between our Lord and man. Ameen, Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.